Hello my lovely viewers, and no doubt you have seen from the thumbnail, I'm reviewing this time around the Magni. It's a headphone amplifier and DAC. Well, there's a headphone amplifier DAC version and there's another version, just the headphone amplifier, but we'll get to that in a moment. The Magni, or the Mango as my spell checker insists I call it. And you know what? I actually prefer Mango as a name. But that's a whole other IP conversation, hey? Looking at the company blurb about this low-cost unit and scanning the internet, there's a lot of information out there. And there isn't. What we do know is that the Magni arrives in two flavors, one with a built-in DAC, priced at either £237 or $189 or €289. There's also a Magni without a DAC, just the headphone amp on its own, priced at, well, a lot cheaper as you might expect, £142 or $119 or €175. That built-in DAC, again, there's lots of information out there and there isn't. Now, I've had a quick scout on the internet and YouTube and the company website, of course, and I'm still a little bit confused. Now, maybe I've managed to miss it if it's indeed there, but even so, this is what I've found. If you're looking at the Magni with the built-in DAC, it's a built-in DAC card. It's called the Unison USB. Well, according to the site and everywhere else I have looked, this is a bespoke board built by the company itself. Now, ordinarily, in its standard form, this is a board that you can buy to upgrade your kit or older DACs, and it retails normally for £180, $150, €200. But that kind of makes no sense here in price terms, does it? Allow me to explain. What I mean is, if you buy £142 worth of Magni head amp, and you upgrade it with a £180 DAC board, now my maths is pretty poor, but I worked that out to be £322 in retail terms. But when you buy this box, this combo, you're not paying $322, you're paying $237 for the Magni and the DAC built in as one unit. That is, you're only paying an extra $95, not $180. So what is going on? What in fact I am hearing is this. Inside the Magni, you get a reworked, simplified, cut down version of the Unison USB board. That is, you get the essentials of this board and no more. That reduces the price below the retail price of the full Unison board, and it allows Magni owners to basically grab a bargain DAC board inside their chassis. Now, it's not the same thing as a full-blown Unison board, but it essentially offers the same results. Nevertheless, be grateful, folks. Be grateful you're getting a head amp and a DAC board together for such a relatively low price. But, well, that's what I think anyway. And on that point of mystery, I think we need to take, right now, a closer look. And welcome to the closer look section for the Magni headphone amplifier and DAC. One thing the company doesn't like to do is to pigeonhole its products and force labels onto them, and that continues here. So let me say this now, the Magni is primarily, not exclusively, but primarily a desktop unit. Sure, you can use this thing at home in a hi-fi chain, which is why there's no label to say this box is for you to do this and this only. But I would say it's designed and aimed at desktop computer use. Now, okay, that desktop may very well be a table in Starbucks and the computer may be your laptop, but you see what I mean. Now, this box would be ideal for an office. After all, it's dinky enough. Imagine you bring the Magni into work with your favourite headphones. During the day, you hook the box to your computer. End of the day, you pull out the leads, you drop the box and headphones into a drawer, and you lock the drawer. You lock the drawer. You're kidding me. They gave me drawers and a key, but no lock? What kind of company is this? Anyway, you lock the drawer ready for the next day. Well, not in this case. 5 will get you 10 that Alan from accounts will pinch these for the weekend. Alan from accounts. Wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw him. The box is small enough to do that, as I say. But the Magni would serve well on a desktop at home, of course. And the footprint is small enough for those living in cramped conditions, a small flat or apartment, a bedsit, a cardboard box under the bridge with power and hot and cold running water, that kind of place. That intention is supported by the mere 127mm by 89 by 318mm in size and a weight of just 0.45 kilograms. It also helps for that size ambition when your power supply is external. I like external. Hi-Fi likes external. It lowers noise, it lowers vibration, it removes microphony, it improves sound quality. External, it's the new black. The Magni includes a linear power supply in the shape of a wall wart, but for the price, this is a decent option. There is a heap of information, as I say, out there about warranties and power supply specs and all of that. And if you're really interested, I'll put the links in the description and you can knock yourself out. But for now, let's keep to the essentials here, shall we? For example, what's going on around the back of this box? And here we are at the rear of the box, and tradition demands that we start on the far left. And the only indication that this chassis holds a DAC at all. You can see a USB-C port. And if there isn't a DAC included, well, apparently you get a plastic plug to fill that very gap. Now, I don't have that version here, so I can't confirm it, but that's what I'm told. To the right of the mysterious USB-C, you get a pair of inputs and a pair of outputs. And as we keep on rolling to the right, a power switch and barrel plug power socket ends our tour. Let's go to the front. Big thumbs up for the 6.35mm headphone socket. Now, a smaller socket would have been perfectly understandable, but the 6.35mm option tells me that this box is serious about sound. And that intention continues, folks, because we have a gain control for your volume concerns, an Alps model to be specific. And let me add right now that the Alps is a sign of quality. It ain't cheap. Let me emphasize this. The Magni may be low cost, but it ain't cheap. To the right of the Alps are 2 toggle switches. Now, I love toggle switches. In fact, the world needs more toggle switches and VU meters for that matter. But hey, that's a whole different bucket of resistors. Now, the first of these toggle switches is a 3-position gain switch. They include -10 decibels, which I would say is for IEMs, plus 0 dB and plus 15 dB. To the right of that is an input switch to move from RCA to the DAC card. And that's it for your tech. Question is, how does the Magni sound? Well, let's go to the sound quality tests and we will find out. And welcome to the sound quality tests for the Magni headphone amplifier and DAC. And to begin the review, I wanted to put this box into context. So I compared it to a wholly expensive head amp. A waste of time, surely, you say. Well, I think not. With the unfair comparison against a top-performing expensive unit, you often find out where the cheaper unit falls over, where it tries hard, and where it performs, say, above expectations. So I did that very test. I brought in £1,000 worth of valve-based Icon Audio HP8 Mark II, and I played the Japanese pressing of David Payton's solo work Blue Yonder on CD, I hasten to add. Now, Payton was the lead singer for the 70s pop band Pilot, and also bass player for all 10 albums of the Alan Parsons Project prog band, and also Kate Bush for that matter. And he sung with Paul McCartney, and played bass in Camel, and Elton John, and so on. Plugging in my Sennheiser HD 800 headphones, keeping the gain at 0 dB, I played the track One Good Reason Why, a richly produced, slow-paced rock piece with drums, acoustic guitars, electric guitar, synths, lead vocal, and backing harmonies. Question: was the HP8 Mark II better than the Magni? Absolutely, of course it was. The soundstage from the Icon Audio box was larger and broader, mid-range scooped up more detail, bass was more focused, all of that kind of stuff. But the Magni produced a surprisingly clear soundstage for the price, and that surprised me. It was full of air and space, and that helped to push the detail to the ear. And that, in these sound tests, was the surprise package. How good that area was. In general terms, the Magni offered a balanced and neutral performance, full of frequency discipline and control. So nothing sounded off. No boomy bass, no pinched treble, no edgy mids. In short, the little old Magni did not embarrass itself in expensive company. That is, and I have to say, if I didn't have the HP8 Mark II as my daily driver, I would be more than happy to use the Magni instead. But look, let's get to the nitty-gritty, shall we? And we'll get to the desk-based performance thing in a second. Before we get to that, I want to ask you a question. Do you think with this particular box, this particular Magni, do you think there is any point in using this box in a good quality hi-fi system? Now, many people out there would say absolutely not, but I would disagree. Remember earlier when I was saying that the external power supply for the Magni is a good thing? Well, external anything is a good thing in hi-fi terms, and that includes headphone amplifiers. So if you happen to run an integrated amplifier with a built-in headphone amp inside the chassis, consider the Magni as a possible low-cost upgrade. I did that test, and I grabbed an older Cambridge 651A integrated amplifier. When it came out, it would have cost, I think it was £450 new, and it still performs well, even though it's aging nicely. It includes, as I say, a built-in headphone amp. For this test, I hooked my Cambridge directly to my Audiolab 6000 CDT transport, plus benchmark DAC. Comparing that Cambridge built-in headphone amplifier with the external Magni, the Magni offered a much lower noise performance. The Magni sounded calmer, at ease, even chilled, as if the performers were in control and confident. The entire mid-range suite of frequencies experienced a boosted clarity. Tonal accuracy was also higher, while the balanced output was absolute now. The built-in Cambridge unit was a little tense by comparison, not really edgy, but slightly compressed perhaps. The output from the Magni was a very pleasant experience, and listening fatigue was far lower with the Magni because of that. I then moved over to my desk and I hooked my Sendy Ava headphones to the Magni and the Magni to my iMac via a basic cheapest chips USB cable, switched the source to DAC mode, and played a quite sublime version of On the Sunny Side of the Street by Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, and Dizzy Gillespie, quite possibly my favorite jazz track of all time at 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. Now for the price, and this unit is all about the price, this head amp and DAC combo sounded excellent. Could it sound better? Sure, yeah, but you would need to spend to get there. If I was being ultra harsh, well, the mids sounded a little thin and strained during crescendos or when the saxophones hit the frequency heights. Bass could be a touch larger, heavier and weightier perhaps, and treble could have been maybe slightly more extended. But really folks, I'm being picky, I'm being super picky. What the Magni provided as a desktop unit was a balanced output full of mid-range insight. Those saxophones had a distinctly reedy presentation. Piano was dynamic, drums were rhythmic and full of swing. There was a host of detail on offer. Even so, could I possibly suggest to you an upgrade from this particular Magni? That is the headphone amp with the DAC included, the 2-in-1 Magni, I suppose you'd say. My upgrade would be this. Either get yourself a Magni with the built-in DAC, enjoy that, and then think about an upgrade, or go for the upgrade immediately now and just get yourself the headphone amp only Magni, the cheaper of the two, in fact. Whichever Magni you pick, the upgrade is basically the same. Grab a decent pair of interconnects and then buy a quality external DAC, such as, well, I happen to use the Topping E30. I have one here, and I've seen that at various prices. £150, I think, is the going rate. Grab a pair of, what, QED interconnects at, well, again, there's lots of prices, but let's say £40 for the pair. Grab yourself a decent USB cable too while you're there. But essentially, if you just get the DAC and the interconnects for now, you're looking at around £190 plus the bare Magni with no board at £142. So you're looking at £332 for the Magni and the DAC and the cables if you buy the whole thing up front in one go right now. Of course, as I say, if you want to get yourself a Magni with the DAC built in, enjoy that for a while, then upgrade later with the external DAC and those interconnects. So you're looking at £332 or, and this is not exact because I haven't done the proper conversions, but somewhere around $309 or 365 euros, give or take, ish, and your sound quality will shoot up. Why? Well, it's that external thing again. I mentioned that earlier, talking about the power supply. Isolation, it lowers noise, vibration, it stops microphony, it improves sound quality. It's the same reason why the Magni sounded better than the built-in head amp on the Cambridge integrated. It's the same thing. So in my case, I had the Magni with QED interconnects plus the Topping E30, and that gave me a mid-range that presented much more basic information. That piano, well, it was complex and tonally more accurate now. Saxes had a full, rich delivery, bass was deeper and more focused. The Magni and E30 combo took the sound up a rung in the sonic ladder. Of course, the downside is money. You're going to have to spend more to get this upgrade, and also you've got a larger footprint. Not much more, but technically larger. You're now looking at 2 boxes, not one, and also you've got a couple of cables connecting them. But the choice is at least there. At least the Magni gives you those choices. And that's basically the review of the Magni headphone amp plus DAC. But before I go, let me give you a few final thoughts. I'll do some pros and cons, and then I'll give you a rating. As you can see, the sheer amount of flexibility from the Magni for such a dinky, low-cost product is a reason to notice the thing in the first place. Add to that the excellent basic sound quality from this box, and you've got yourself a winner. But then you top that with the upgrade possibilities that I've mentioned earlier, when cash allows, of course. Then you have a stunning piece of hi-fi design that will prove useful in so many different ways. If you want to see the quintessential modern piece of hi-fi, low cost, flexible, packed with value and high in quality, this, my friends, is it. Pros and cons. And in the good section, we have small footprint. This thing can go just about anywhere. It's a dinky little thing, as I say. Basic sound quality. That surprised me how well it performed. Upgrade possibilities. Yes, you don't have to make do with the thing you buy. You can improve it later on. Flexible usage. You can use this all over the place, on a desktop, part of a hi-fi, all kinds of different places. And in the bad section, absolutely nothing at all, which is why the Magni Headphone amplifier and DAC is going to get an award, an 8 out of 10 and a groovy. And that's it, folks. Thanks very much for staying to the end of this particular video. Before you go, can you click downstairs on the like and subscribe buttons? It just helps this channel to, roam through the algorithm, I reckon. It's further down in the description. I'll put a link for this particular little box, the Magni. Also further down, you'll see links to my website, and there's lots of stuff over there you will not find over here. And there is a link to my Facebook group, and you're welcome to join that too, plus my Patreon page. There is, and there's a new one out this week. There is an exclusive video, hi-fi news, etc. Last week I gave you a sample of the sort of thing I do. Well, look at last week's video on this channel, and you'll get an idea, a feeling, a flavour of what goes on over on Patreon. So check it out, and you can judge for yourself. But it's all good stuff, lots of news, hints and tips, other kind of featurey material, music-based trivia and stuff. There's loads of other things over on Patreon too, buyer's guides and features and things, other videos. Check it out. Anyway, I will be back on Saturday with a music alerts video. Check that out too. And the following Sunday, another review. And I hope you can join me. It'd be great to have your company. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.